Can I call a meeting to order by myself?
10 times faster than the day.
Can you
Think
call
so?
a meeting to order? There is no quorum.
Right.
There's not a quorum.
We're not gonna take action, we're waiting, Kevin's gonna be late, but we have some informational items we're just gonna hit Teresa, if that's okay with our mighty fine news organization.
I suppose.
So I think you can,
So it's 6:30, I'll wait for Kevin to get here to call the meeting to order, but we will, since this was the posted time, I think we can go over some informational stuff. We will move the discussion on non-working funds 2022 budget, item number 10, to the top and have Connie handle that right now.
Thank you very much, Chairman Johnson. So yes, usually when we have the workshops, we're talking about the funds that we levy for to have the operations. But the city council has historically adopted other budgets for other funds as well. And so before we adopt them on the 20th, I kind of like to get them in front of council, so if they have any questions, we can go over them now. Those funds that the council typically adopts are for the transit fund, library, recycling, parking lot, permanent improvement, mayor's contingency fund, and then the two enterprise funds, the sanitary and storm sewer fund. So with the transit fund, this fund accounts for all the dial-a-ride activity and is funded through federal and state grants. You can see that they are expecting to use a little bit of fund balance in 2022. And speaking with the transit coordinator and the public works director, we really think in the end that we won't use as much, that this is what we have budgeted for 2022 at this point, not knowing when we'll go back to full ridership, full buses and full ridership.
So they're planning, Connie, if I can ask a question, the transit committee is planning on operating a city transit for about 6 more years, and then they plan on closing up shop, or what's the plan here?
They do have a rate increase in the works for 2022 is my understanding. So they are watching the rates for ridership as well. So I don't think we need to worry about that, but the full budget that was submitted did not get approved by the state of Minnesota. But we are looking at doing some rate increases, and then as well as when we can do that to full operation.
Because when you're burning, like, what's that, 13% of your fund balance in 1 year, that doesn't look like a very, stable outlook for an organization? Or for a fund? So I hope they have some plans to fix it.
They are talking about rate increases, and that is not reflected in the budget at this point.
Thank you.
Then we have the library fund. This is based on the library board. You see other revenue of $20,000 and then capital of $20,000. The library board has asked Kitchen County, asked the regional library board to submit $20,000 of their fund balance back to the library to use for capital purposes, so that is reflected in their budget as well.
Question, Connie.
Yes.
The library fund's fund balance is 2 years operating. That seems like a large fund balance. I usually operate with about 6 months to a year. Why do they have 2 years operating in their fund balance?
I think that is more to do with the donations that they receive. And I know we talked about it last year a little bit when the library board, they were doing their budget. If they can use those donations for anything, or if they have a specific purpose, so if that's truly something that fund balance is probably reserved.
Oh, okay, so there's some restricted donation funds. All of their money is just in that fund balance.
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
The recycling fund accounts for the donations that are received to the recycling funds at the fire station. We used to receive SCORE funds from the county, but the last 2 years we have not received any SCORE funds. So this is just the donation, and then the expenses that we pay for the dumpster as well as the used oil. The transfers in is money from the storm sewer fund, because this, we feel, definitely prevents things from going into our system that don't need to be.
That fund balance isn't very healthy.
No. And that's what we've talked about, and that's why the last couple of years we've done the $15,000 transfer in. Wait
$1,500.
until you see the parking lot.
Yeah, okay.
The parking lot budget currently does not reflect anything that's talked about tonight. I know that the parking commission recommendations I do believe last year when we were talking about the budget, this is where, this is when the council determined that we should reenact the parking commission to take a look at our parking fund. And so I think that this is very conservative, and depending on what council direction we get regarding the parking lot funds, is to change the budget significantly. The permanent improvement fund is more of an in and an out. The 2 mil that we levied for the city's portion of the road construction projects go into this permanent improvement fund, and they get transferred into Fund 401. And so the fund balance is really just a timing factor. It's actually a zero fund balance, because everything gets transferred into the construction fund. The mayor's contingency fund, this again is a fund that is set up in our charter, and this is $2,500 for the mayor to use to promote the needs of the city. And anything not used at the end of the year is transferred back into the general fund.
Is that still in the charter?
They're still in the charter.
Well, we should look at removing that. I kid, I don't.
And then we have our 2 enterprise funds, the sanitary and the storm sewer fund. These funds are budgeted very different than the other funds, and that these funds use full accrual, and they operate more as a business, so they have depreciation in there as well. You can see that we have a very healthy fund balance, but again, most of this is invested in infrastructure, so that is not truly the only unrestricted fund balance.
Yeah, well, I see, it's net position is $8 million. We have the BPU guys here. I will sell it to you for $4 million on the spot.
Too bad you don't have a quorum.
Okay, maybe next time. We'll wait for Kevin to get
That's a good one.
The intergovernmental revenue that's coming in on the sanitary sewer, that is the local option sales tax contribution from the city of Baxter to pay for the debt on the airport project. That is the city share, BPU records their share. We have 57% and BPU gets 63%. I do believe that's the split up that way.
That's 120%.
That doesn't add up.
Theirs is 38%.
38, 62.
That's
Okay.
38, there we go, thank you, Todd. Sorry. Yeah, that didn't add up, I'm sorry.
I wonder why you're.
And then the sanitary sewer, there's not a whole lot to report on that fund. A lot of it goes along with whatever book projects we do. So that's all that I have for the other other budgets. The EDA fund is not included in here. That's because the EDA has not decided or has not established their budget yet for 2022. They are meeting on the 9th. But they have requested to levy the maximum allowed by state statute, so how they divide it up is kind of what they decide on Thursday morning.
Connie, question on the storm sewer fund?
Yep.
Yeah, I see professional services is going from 68 up to 158,000. Is that due to the increased amount of time we need for compliance for state reporting and stuff?
It is. So in the memo I had wrote on there for the storm sewer, we're hiring a consultant for the rate study, and then also to professional services for the gully study, and to continue to work on the MS4 WSPPPP update plan. So that is a lot of what the professional services are in those studies and getting the MS4 permit.
Are the changes to the MS4, like, do you see that being $90,000 a year forever? That's just gonna be part of the budget now?
That would be a good question for Paul. I know that there's still things in the works, whether or not we do something with the city of Baxter and how that all works out.
Well, I'm just killing time asking questions now.
What was that, Gabe?
Nothing. I just said I'm killing time asking questions, waiting for Kevin to get here.
I was gonna say, this isn't gonna take a half hour to go through the numbers.
Well, okay. Thanks, Connie. Anybody have anything to add to that? No, now we can just sit here and wait.
Do you want to do the Osha discussion, or do you want to wait because you have, what we just have as an update?
Yeah, we'll move the OSHA discussion to an update. I still may ask Kevin Stunek to act on it.
Okay.
But
Get my information for that. So good evening. In the packet, we've included an update regarding the OSHA COVID Emergency Temporary Standard Policy that was recently enacted by the federal OSHA. They had said that we needed to have a policy in place by the middle of December or early December, and then have vaccination and testing by January. Since that time, federal OSHA has changed the information on their website so that basically because of litigation, they are removing that standard as far as the time frame at this point. The Minnesota OSHA has stated that they have jurisdiction after federal, then it goes to Minnesota, and Minnesota can be more restrictive, not less restrictive. And they said that they will not issue any kind of ETS for Minnesota employers until after the federal OSHA ETS stay has been lifted. Right now, this matter for the litigation is in the Sixth Circuit Court based out of Ohio, and they'll be presiding over the litigation. So at this point, the League of Minnesota Cities is saying that the employers may want to consider pausing any kind of a policy decision at this point until that stay is lifted. And your comments or questions, how can I help you with that, Gabe?
No, I'm just gonna ask Kevin to make a motion to disregard OSHA COVID Emergency Temporary Standard Policy, whatever the number is, and then move on and never talk about it again. But I need somebody here to make that motion.
Could it be?
Oh,
There he
Could it, yay, we have a quorum.
Tiffany was here tonight.
And then we'll go to the other side.
Come on in again.
Hi, Kevin.
Good evening. This is the best welcome I've had in like 10 years.
All right, since Kevin Stunek is here, we will call the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting to order. We will start with introductions.
Alderman at Large, Kevin Studik.
Jennifer Bergman, City Administrator.
Chris Schubert, HR Director.
Mike Russell, Police Chief. Scott Anderson, Brainerd Public Utilities.
Tyler Glenn, Executive Director of Bladek. Todd Rickland, Brainerd Public Utilities.
David Chansky, Community Development Director.
Teresa Burke, Brainerd Dispatch.
And on the with us virtually is
Somebody.
Connie Coleman, City Finance Director.
Joyce, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. Oh, Joyce, you might be muted.
I didn't know that too.
Still not hearing you, Joyce, sorry.
Okay, well, Todd, you want to introduce? You know these three.
Yeah, that's Joyce Bushman, Chief Representative, being the Power Solutions, and then maybe those two fellows, Brian and Fred, are they there?
Brian or Fred, can you?
Unmute and introduce yourselves if possible.
Hello, everybody. This is Brian with the BNU Power Solutions.
Thank you. Brian and Fred, can you unmute and introduce yourself?
Hello, this is Brian with BNU Power Solutions.
Yep, and how about Fred? Can Fred and,
Fred is not with me. I'm here.
okay.
Okay, it looks
Hello,
like.
everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't. It's a little bit loud here. I'm sorry. I'll try to. I'll have Brian to talk to you guys. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Fred. And I'm Gabe Johnson, Chair of the committee. With that, we'll get to the 14 items on our agenda. And we handled 1 3/4 without you, that were just information. So we only had like 12 1/4. 1 is community service officer resignations and requests to hire.
Yes, Mr. Chair. 2 CSOs resigned recently. One on November 3rd, Joshua Schuler submitted his resignation effective December 3rd, and Carter Davis submitted his on November 12th, and he left us on November 26th, leaving us with 3 CSO staffing. 1 which is on our hiring list will be a police officer and currently attending the University of Duluth yet, Nick Kersnia. So we're down to 2 right now. So recommended action be accepted with regret resignation of the CSOs Carter Davis effective November 26th and Joshua Schuler effective December 3rd of 2021. And then also authorizing the hiring of 2 community service officers at the starting rate of $14 per hour.
I make a motion to accept with regret the two CSOs that retired or left, and to, you want 2 motions or 1?
1,
And then to approve the hiring of another one.
2 more at
Two more,
$14
okay.
an hour.
I'm catching.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up.
And also on November 1st, the council meeting received authorization to hire a community service officer after Cole Toma resigned. And so we did the interviews, and it just so happens that a ex-CSO, Mason Barton, he freed up some time with his work schedule and now wants to come back to us, which is very beneficial to our department, a lot of with required minimal training and stuff like that. So, and we hired him on November 24th, so we're looking at the recommended action of ratifying the hiring of community service officer Mason Barton, starting at $14 per hour with an effective date of November 24th, 2021.
And I so move.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Next up is a park maintenance position. Chris?
Yeah. On October 4th, the City Council authorized staff to start the hiring process to backfill our park maintenance position. We received 52 employment applications for that position. We had scheduled 8 interviews. 1 was a no-show, so we actually interviewed 7 people for that position. Taylor Lockhorst, or he goes by TJ, was offered the position, and he has successfully completed the pre-employment hiring process. TJ started today, and he started at step 1 of the park maintenance wage grid in accordance with the hiring guidance previously approved by council. Recommended action is to ratify the hiring of Taylor Lockhorst effective December 6, 2021. Further, that he be placed on step 1 of the park maintenance wage grid, which is $19.98 per hour.
And I so move.
Second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Next up, memorandum of agreement for HR assistant position. Chris?
In our 2022 budget is a new HR assistant position. The City Council has approved that job description and also directed staff to negotiate an MOU for the wages for this position. We sent the attached, actually MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, to the union for review and consideration. At this point, we have not heard back from the union if they will accept it or not. They've not provided any feedback. With that said, since this is included in the 2022 budget, we did send this to council asking for your review and consideration for it. If the union does not have any major changes to it, we're hoping that the council will bless it, realizing there may be some slight tweaks to it. If there are any major changes, we would bring it back to the December 20th meeting. So the recommended action is to approve the attached MOA between the city and IBEW, settling the wages for the 2021-2022 wages for the HR assistant position. And there's some additional wording on there about the tweaks and things. Do you have any questions on that?
Why do we need an MOA? Can't we just add the position to the union?
You have to negotiate the benefits with the union, and the benefits include wages, terms and conditions of employment. This position is included under that union contract. We don't have a choice, based on the nature of it being an administrative type of support position.
Okay, and this is part of the HR contracts we have with HRA and BPU, and some part of these wages are part of those contracts that were reimbursed.
Correct, they will be, yes.
You guys approve that? No more questions.
I make the motion to approve the attached memorandum between the City of Brainerd and International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local number 31.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the Teamsters contract terms and wages.
The city reached a tentative agreement with the Teamsters Union that represents our police lieutenants and sergeants for their 2022 through 2024 union contract. Attached to the contract is, or attached to the agenda request are the items that were agreed to. Both of these were, this information was presented to the council on the 15th. We received guidance, and that's why we have this tonight ready for your approval. There's 2 recommended actions. One is to approve the tentative agreement summary, and the second is to adopt the wage resolution.
I so move.
So we have a motion to approve the tentative agreement summary with union number 346. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And let's do a second one for the resolution.
Yeah, then I'll make a motion to adopt the attached resolution settling the Teamster General Local Union 346 6, wages for 22 through 24.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Resolution setting wages for department heads and supervisors.
Part of your agenda request this evening is a wage resolution for our 2022 through 2023 wages for the city administrator, department heads, and non-union supervisors. The rates noted reflect a 2.5% cost of living increase for both 2022 and 2023. There are no market adjustments to any of these based on the direction that we received as the November 8th council work session. We're asking council to adopt the wage resolution for 2022 and 2023 for this group.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Police chief, deputy police chief wages.
So also at the November 8th meeting, we talked about a supervisory wage compression issue based on some contracts, union contracts that were settled for our sworn staff. So we are asking for some market adjustments for our police chief and deputy police chief positions just because of those settlements. So there is market adjustments as well as a 2.5% cost of living increase that the rest of the employees received. And just to note, those market adjustments would be now, by the end of the third year for 2024, approximately a 9.4% wage gap between the lieutenant and deputy chief position, and also an 18.25% wage difference between the deputy chief and police chief positions. At this point, staff is asking council to adopt a resolution adopting the wages for our deputy police chief and police chief positions for those years.
So moved.
Second, I see we have the steps, Deputy Police Chief Davis on 6 and Police Chief Bestial on step 5. Is that the next step beyond where they currently are right now?
Correct.
That is not advancing a step in their current position, okay.
Yep, this would be for 2022, yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Updated organizational chart.
So the past year, we've been busy. We've made some changes as far as the creation of our Public Works Department versus having a separate Street and Parks Department. And we also had a charter amendment so that the mayor no longer has oversight over our police department. We have presented an organizational chart so you can see what that currently looks like. In addition to that, we changed the title for our former city engineer position to now be the City Engineer Public Works Director. And so we are asking for approval of the updated organizational chart as presented, and also to approve an official title change for our city engineer to the City Engineer Public Works Director.
So moved. You want 2 or just 1?
Just one.
Okay.
And I should also note there is no wage adjustment at this time recommended for the City Engineer Public Works Director. That will be considered in when we do the market review in 2023 to be implemented in 2024.
Okay, I second. And his points, we graded the Public Works Director, right? His points weren't all that drastically different from the city engineer, right?
Correct.
Okay.
In fact, they didn't change,
Really?
if I remember right.
Good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Resolution to accept the redistribution of unrequested coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund.
Alright, so when we talked, in July, we had the city of Brainerd is considered a non-entitlement unit, so we get our distribution from the state of Minnesota. When we passed the resolution back in July, we weren't sure how much we were going to get. Well, they made a distribution and then all of the funds did not get distributed to all the NEUs, and so therefore they sent us an additional $23,276. And so the League of Minnesota Cities is recommending that we pass a resolution accepting this additional distribution of funds. And we will get the other half when we get our other half in the middle of next year. We will have a total of over, we'll have a total of $1.46 million of ARPA funds to be expended by December 31st, 2024.
I noticed nowhere in the resolution does it say please or pretty please or may I. Is that okay? We'll still get the money?
We already have the money.
Excellent.
Next.
All right, so it's a resolution.
Okay, I make a motion to adopt the attached resolution to accept the redistribution of unrequested coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund established under the American Rescue Plan Act.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Discussion of non-working funds. Kevin, we did it without you. We discussed it, we talked about it. You have any questions, bring it up later.
Like tomorrow?
Yeah. Update on OSHA COVID emergency temporary standard policy. We received the update. Long story short, federal mandates are in federal court right now, and League of Minnesota Cities is saying, kind of hold off on implementing anything until it's done in the federal courts. I'm hoping we can take action upstairs tonight to just direct our staff to ignore that for just the rest of time.
Okay.
If you can make that motion, I'd second it. If you don't want to, we'll move
Can I
on.
make just a slight comment? There would be penalties assigned to that if it is implemented and if we wouldn't do it. I think it was like, wasn't it like
14,000.
Yes,
$14,000 a year?
per employee.
Yeah, per employee.
Per week, per year, what do you got?
Well, the guidance was very vague, so we're not sure. We just saw information that said $14,000 penalty. So
I fight
we're not
vagueness
sure.
with clarity.
So what do you want to do?
Tell staff to ignore it.
I make a motion to tell staff to ignore it. God, I like doing that.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. We'll see how it goes upstairs. Next up, transfer of Development District 2 to the EDA.
Okay. So, the EDA, well, I should say the city has received requests to purchase from two different entities property in the industrial park. Before, and part of that, which will be coming next, is traditionally staff recommends that all property in the industrial park be sold by the EDA because the EDA has the power of reverter. However, EDA can only sell land that is within a development district. This land is within development district number 2, however, that is held by the city of Brainerd. So per legal counsel, we are recommending that the attached resolution be adopted, which transfers development district number 2 to the Economic Development Authority.
And there's nothing physical, it's just the authority over the
All the parcels
development
within this
Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
So EDA will make the decisions and do whatever then.
Yes.
Okay, I make that motion.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, transfer, no, that's not what we just did. Next up is the B&D Power Solutions.
Okay.
So the city of Brainerd received a letter of intent from B&D Power Solutions requesting to purchase lot 1, block 2, lot 1, block 3, both in phase 4 of the industrial park. The EDA considered their letter of request initially during the December 2nd meeting and has requested that the council adopt the attached resolution conveying these lots to the EDA for sale at a price to be negotiated with the buyer at a later date.
I shall move.
Okay, we have a motion, I second it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Next up is the letter of intent from Cloud Properties.
City also received a letter of intent from Cloud Properties, also looking to purchase lots in the industrial park. The city has received a couple of different offer letters. Their initial offer letters for lots 7 and 8, block 1 of phase 4 of the industrial park. During the EDA meeting, the EDA did motion to request the conveyance of lots 7 and 8 as requested in block 1, but also lots 3 and 4 in block 4 as Cloud Properties is interested in purchasing additional land. So the attached resolution does represent that request from the EDA, so lots 7 and 8 block 1 and lots 3 and 4 block 4. I do want to just point out that should this be conveyed, this is the city council authorizing conveyance. Conveyance would not actually happen until we have an agreement settled, ready to go, and then what we do is have the quitclaim deed that transfers the land to the EDA, and then the EDA would right all in once and transfer it, then sell it off. So should Cloud Properties not be interested in lots 3 and 4 or even lots 7 and 8, they would just stay with, we wouldn't finalize the transaction. Same thing with B&D Power Solutions, it would just stay with the city.
Okay, I'm okay with that, I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it, and I just, a further clarification, because there are 2 letters of intent included in the council packet. There was only 1 included in the EDA packet. The EDA has not addressed the second one, so the direction, or the request from the EDA is based on the letter of intent dated November 24th, 2021.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that's clear. And that's what we'll be negotiating. Any other discussion?
So was there a closing date on when these had to be in?
When,
Well, the cloud one is the second one, correct?
correct.
So what will happen if the council conveys these lots is the EDA will then, we think, direct staff to negotiate a purchase and development agreement. There will be contingencies on those development agreements. One, I have heard from the buyers, at least B&D Power Solutions has said that it would be contingent upon the availability and agreements negotiated with Brainerd Public Utilities for power. And then there will be a couple of other contingencies on the EDA side as well.
So the amount of power we're talking here, Kevin, is more than the city uses at its peak times any day of the year, is how much power we're talking in these agreements. It's
And you guys can handle that?
power intense. BPU kind of has been on the lead on this, and they've been negotiating with it.
Okay.
This is what they're comfortable with, are these 2 letters of intent, that it's 70 megawatts, it's what we can handle.
Okay.
And maybe just because we're probably gonna have time.
So I suppose, yeah, Todd, you guys can speak for BPU. Come
Do you
on.
want a quick explanation of what I can go into what the proposals are? Do you want that quick, or, I don't think Kevin obviously probably doesn't know. I should probably.
Whatever Kevin wants, I've been.
Well, you're gonna do it upstairs?
No, this
I was
is
gonna ask
doing
you.
PNF.
Do PNF. So,
Okay,
both
give me
Chairman
the
Johnson wants
quick
to
version.
share.
Both of these requests, both of these entities have requested to purchase property, as they both intend to, would like to conduct crypto mining operations in the industrial park.
Okay.
Just for Cloud Properties has also indicated looking at expanding their T-Hive and Just for Kicks operations as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, both of the crypto mining operations require a lot of power.
Correct.
In their request for letters of intent, B&D Power Solutions is asking for 50 megawatts of power right off the bat. And then in their first, and the one that's being considered at this time, request from Cloud Properties, they're asking for 10 megawatts right off the bat, immediately, with an additional 10 being made available by the end of 2022. And then I guess Scott and Todd can talk about the actual power and how that's gonna work.
And I think one of the things that maybe if you guys could start out with is how much capacity we have, what our peak is, and where this would put us if both groups.
So at the substation upgrade we did in 2008.
Out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put in 3 47 MVA transformers.
Okay.
Projected growth at the time was a lot. It didn't happen. So we've got 1 transformer turned off. Running the city on 2 transformers balanced out, just to keep them both happy, so.
Okay.
Word got out that we have a lot of capacity. And what we have that a lot of places, they can go anywhere they wanna go. But if where they go does not have the capacity like we do, they'd have to build a new substation.
Okay.
And right now with shortages, you're talking probably 2 years plus to get a transformer.
So this is a prime spot for them.
Yep, prime spot. So we met with B&D, they said, how about 50 megawatts? We said, we've got that. A day or 2 later, we met with Clow. They talked about 10 now, 10 next year. We said, we can do 20. Both projects need to have some lines rebuilt that they are gonna pay for. So that was kind of the agreement we had with both of those companies when we, at the end of last week.
So it's gonna be one or the other, it's not gonna be both?
This could be both.
No, it's gonna be both.
It's gonna be both.
It's gonna be both. We met with P&D, gave them 50, we met with Klaus, said we can give you 20 right now, with some line work.
So as it will go is with this, is there's kind of essentially gonna be 2 agreements. The agreement with the EDA will be for the sale of the land.
Okay.
They will then separately negotiate with BPU for the power.
But it will be contingent and tied in to the development agreement, because we won't close on the properties until there is there are these agreements in place for the power.
It will all be just one master agreement that everybody signs on to.
Well, I think
No,
there's
there's separate agreements that are contingent upon each other.
Yep.
Okay. And as far as selling the lots, it's two different negotiations. B&D Energy Solutions is pretty clear. They want power and they want to put their machines on the industrial park and plug into the power. The Clows is going to be a different negotiation because they're talking about moving jobs here and expanding their operations and that. So, you know, the purchase prices may end up being different, you know, because we'll help people who want to provide jobs.
Correct.
So it'll be two different negotiations going on two different paths,
Okay.
but we can accommodate them both.
And we expect that to be done by when?
So I think it depends, again, I think a development agreement, I think we can get done pretty quickly. I would think that maybe we'd even be ready to have development agreements, either the meeting in January of the EDA or the meeting in February at the latest. But they won't close and sell until the agreements are done with BPU, and I don't know what your timeline is for BPU.
Well, our timeline is as soon as we can figure out that we've got something in the works for the land, we will then move forward with drafting these agreements, and I think they'll be pretty straightforward. I mean, there'll be deposits and that was kind of language. It'll probably be 6-7 pages long, but it's all determined on that price. That makes up a huge part of their cost is that energy price, and we started sharing some of those numbers last week, but they're just tentative numbers at this time.
Should the EDA, should the council convey the land to the EDA tonight or pass these resolutions? The EDA has already called for a special meeting for Thursday, which then we as staff will bring it to the EDA board for direction regarding negotiation, and then we'll start the negotiating process.
Okay.
Part of that will include terms and price,
Okay.
at least for the land.
Okay, did we vote on the
You did
Clow
not.
one? Oh, let's
You have not.
vote on the Clow letter of intent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries, so we're done with our business. If you have any more questions or want to talk more about these.
I think it's too early yet to have a ton of questions.
Yeah, but it's exciting that people are interested in the industrial park lots.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Tyler, I mean,
Is there any issues from your guys' standpoint in obtaining the power you need?
No.
As far as, because you've got to, to go to this level, you need to purchase power from, obviously what is it, through Minnesota Power?
Well, it's through American Electric Power now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that.
This doesn't delay anything from this,
No.
from anybody's perspective, correct?
Actually, what happens is that this is all beyond our normal contract that we have to buy power. And so our power company, AEP is what we call it, would go out on our behalf and get the best price that we can get, and then we would enter into either a 1-year contract or a 2-year contract. Because once we sign that we're gonna buy 50 megawatts or 70 megawatts of energy, Brainerd and the city of Brainerd is on the hook for that amount. And so that's why we would have significant deposits to take care of the risk, because then we could turn around and sell it if something went.
So you had preliminary talks with them already?
Yep, yeah. With B&D we have.
Yeah.
Had. So I see no problem there, but they would be separate contracts with AEP to do that. And so because we would enter into contracts with AEP, we would then enter into contract with B&D or Clow, both of them, if, both, or works out for both of them. And then, the city would have their agreements with them on the buying of the land and the contingent type of thing. But I think as we go forward, we can move fairly quickly. We can get our commission to meet in special session or get our finance committee to kind of tell them here's what's.
Well, like you said, exciting, somebody wants to come in here and create jobs and do whatever.
mm-hmm. Just get the land.
It's kind of crazy when you've
Architectural.
got industrial park land that's been sitting there for 13 years, and then over the course of about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you've got two interested parties.
Merry Christmas.
I guess I have one question, because that's a lot of power. Is it gonna put my bedroom lights at risk of being shut off ever?
You have a separate feeder all by itself.
You
No
have to
risk
go
to my
21
light bulbs.
light bulbs.
Yeah, I gotta go to, now,
21 light
20
bulbs.
watt?
There's
Under
still
21
a chance,
LED.
there's still a chance of having a citywide outage. you know.
But this doesn't
not
increase
caused-
the
Not
chance.
caused by this, correct?
Okay.
Additionally, too, if I understand correctly, the crypto mining piece, it would be interruptible.
Yes.
So for any reason the BPU said, well, we need to cut your power, they can.
They're the first ones to be shut off if there's some.
Yeah, typically that would come from the transmission MISO market.
Well, that wouldn't even be a choice, it's a decision you guys make, that'd just be the Fed saying, shut it off.
Yeah.
Shut it off, they need power in Texas, they say. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting and be upstairs in 20 minutes.
Oh, we get a break.
If you guys can come up, that'd be great, I don't know how long it'll take, but there might be questions.
Oh, we gotta get there anyways for.
Budget.
Oh, you guys present your budget, yeah.
Bye,
Good.
we'll see you all
Nah, we
at the
agree.
next
God, we're
one.
gonna have such a long meeting tonight. I
Can
need
we
a
just do it right now?
Yeah. Should have presented it at P&L, just ran it through.
We can be quick.